Welcome to the Steve Wilmot Show, presented by Aria Health. I'm Sean Lerman here with Neshaminy Redskins head coach Steve Wilmot, coming off of a very big win over Abington, 47-7, the final, and the Redskins took control early. Coach, this was your biggest win of the year in terms of score. What was it that was able to allow you guys to come out and score so many points so early in the game?
I think we just executed. We just did what we were supposed to do. The offensive line blocked well, the fullbacks blocked well, tight end. Like I said, every week, tight end, fullbacks are part of the offensive line. I think we just executed up front. Our defense was able to make some stops except for that one drive. I think we just played well all together.
Yeah, you mentioned the offensive line, the blocking. Things did look really good. I mean, Will Dogba, 150 rushing yards, and he did so, I believe, on only 14 carries. Big holes for him all day. You have to be a little proud as the offensive line guy to see that happen.
I guess. But again, it's a process. I'm sure we'll talk about this week coming up, but this week will be a challenge. So, every week presents new challenges for us, and we'll just try to get the job done.
Oftentimes on this show throughout the season, you've mentioned Hayden Rooney and the job that he's done. He finally got a little bit of a payment for all the blocking that he's done. He got his touchdown early in that first quarter. Talk about Hayden Rooney's performance.
We needed to get another little dimension to our offense as far as more people carrying it. We have Mason carrying the ball now. We also wanted to get our fullback involved in the offense. And, so we told Hayden he was going to get a certain amount of carries, and he ran hard.
One of the nice things about when you have a big win, as you guys did against Abington, is that about midway through the third quarter, a lot of the guys who don't normally see as much playing time were able to get into the game. Anybody that stood out for you to play really well once they came into the game?
I thought when that second crew, I'm going to call them our scout team because that second crew that was in there, that's basically the team that gives our defense a look during the course of the practice. I think they executed really well. I was very happy with Harold Lamon. Harold Lamon had a few runs, and I think he executed well. Joe Perone was the tailback during that. He's our second string tailback. And then even when Mike Crescenzo and then Dean Dunford came in later, I think the second team offense executed very well. Against their second team, they had their second team in. But I was very happy with Harold about how he kind of ran the show with the second team.
On the defensive side of the ball, obviously a good game when you hold the other team to only 7 points. So, but David Kreshman, for them, a pretty good quarterback. He could throw the ball downfield, pretty mobile back there. Were you happy with the way that the defense executed against their offense?
Really good individual performance by Harmon Yolarte. He really kind of controlled the tight end. Kreshman is a very good quarterback. Unfortunately, he kind of won out midway through the second quarter. Their second string was not their first string guy. But we were just able to shut everything down.
Yeah, it seemed like Harmon was in the backfield all day, too. A lot of pressure on the quarterback, no matter who was back there. It was a really nice performance. I think one of the things that stood out to me was the line play on both sides just looked really good for the Neshaminy Redskins yesterday. So a couple of big performances. You mentioned the running game with the quarterback, Mason Jones. He had another 55-yard run, so he keeps rolling along with the run game.
Yep. He's fast. He's a fast kid. He's a long, lanky kid, so he doesn't look like he's fast. But when we run 40 times in the summer, you look at the watch and you say, "Oh, this kid's fast." And he doesn't have that. Again, he's a long, lanky kid, so it's maybe a little bit of deceiving speed. And he broke a couple tackles along the way and finished off a good run.
And one thing that we didn't see as much of was Mason Jones throwing the ball. That was certainly not a product of not being able to, but a product of being up by a lot of points. You're going to run the ball at that point. But one guy who did get a reception in the game, not always hugely involved in the passing game as a receiver, Billy Ritchie, picked up a catch, I believe it was in the first half. And good to see Billy get into the passing game.
Yeah, Billy's more than capable of catching the ball. We got to maybe throw a few more balls his way, but he's got all the tools to be a good catching tight end. And, and we'll, in the future, we need to find ways to. That's what I want to do. I want to spread the ball around, and he's a good option. It's not like it's not like we don't try to throw to him.
It's just that he's such a good blocker too.
Yeah,
It's nice to have him blocking.
Yep.
All right, well, a big win for Neshaminy over Abington this past week on a Monday night football for the Redskins. They'll come back this Saturday against Penridge here at Heartbreak Ridge. So we'll talk about that game coming up on the Steve Wilmot Show, presented by Aria Health on WBCB1490.com. Back after this.
Discover the dealer for the people, Haldeman Ford Subaru, Route 33 in Hamilton Township. One of the region's finest state-of-the-art service facilities for all makes and models. A service facility so good, local school districts get their buses serviced at Haldeman. Police fleets, local municipalities get their cars and trucks serviced at Haldeman. From oil changes to tire sales, Haldeman Ford services all makes and models. And they offer tires for just $10 over cost on name brand tires like Goodyear and Pirelli. And their waiting room offers complimentary food. And there's a special Wi-Fi room available for your use. So no matter where you purchase your car, get it serviced at Haldeman Ford, the dealership for the people on Route 33 in Hamilton Township. I'm Merrill Reese to tell you about our good friends at the Revere Ristorante Italiano in nearby Ewing Township at 802 River Road. I can tell you that from South Philadelphia to New York's Mulberry Street, there's no better Italian cuisine than that served at the Revere. Start your meal with one of their great appetizers or salads. Entrees include outstanding veal dishes, fresh seafood daily, excellent steaks and chops, homemade pasta dishes, daily specials, and much more. You can also enjoy their bar area, where on most weekends, entertainment is offered. The Revere also does off-premise catering, and you can accommodate private parties for any affair, including business functions. Call the Revere Ristorante Italiano for more information and reservations at 609-882-6365. 882-6365. The Revere Ristorante Italiano open Monday through Friday for lunch and 7 days for dinner at 802 River Road, right off the Wilbertha Road exit on Route 29 in nearby Ewing Township.
Jerry Blavitt here to tell you about St. Francis Medical Center, the heart hospital in the city of Trenton. St. Francis Medical Center is one of the region's top cardiac care centers, serving all of Mercer, Bucks, and Burlington counties. Their staff of highly trained physicians provide state-of-the-art heart care to patients with cardiovascular disease and pride themselves as being the only regional heart center to offer a full spectrum of individualized services. And Consumer Report ranks St. Francis Medical Center in the top 10 hospitals in New Jersey for safety, and the #1 hospital in Mercer County, St. Francis Medical Center, the Heart Hospital.
Don't forget, if you miss any of your local high school sports action, you can read all about it in tomorrow's edition of the Trentonian. For your complete local and national news 7 days a week, it's the Trentonian, or online at thetrentonian.com. The only newspaper serving Bucks, Burlington, and Mercer County 7 days a week, it's the Trentonian.
Welcome back to the Steve Wilmot Show, presented by Aria Health. I'm Sean Lerman here with Neshaminy Redskins head coach Steve Wilmot. As the Redskins play on a Saturday this week at 6 p.m., you can catch the game live online at WBCB1490.com. And Coach, as you're getting set for Penridge, it was a very hard-fought game between Neshaminy and Penridge last year, a close game the whole way through. I remember specifically one of the most impressive runs I've ever seen out of a high school running back from DeAndre Pollard in that one. Took it 70 yards, a great run. So coming up against Penridge, what does their offense look like this season?
Their offense, they run a modified shotgun wing T type of offense. Coach Hollenbach, who's been coaching for a long time. I mean, he's a wing T guy. They've kind of modernized it. They kind of bring that quarterback back. They're a physical team. Penridge is a very physical team. They have big backs. Their fullback is 248 pounds. Their quarterback is actually a pretty husky guy too. They want to pound the ball down the field. That's their deal.
So when you're playing against a team that wants to run the ball and runs that wing T, they have big guys in the backfield. Who does that put the most pressure on in terms of your defense?
Well, I guess with their offense, the inside linebackers get the brunt of it most weeks. But what Penridge does in their wing T, I mean, they want to pound the ball straight ahead, but they got backs going this way and backs going that way, and it's going to be up to the inside linebackers to just not get caught up in all that. I'm calling it window dressing. I guess that's what our defensive coaches would call it. Occasionally they run the counters back, and occasionally they run the speed sweeps. But our inside linebackers just got to sit in there and read their blocking schemes and read their keys and fill their holes and go from there. The defensive, it's kind of a normal week. Defensive line needs to hold up on the offensive line and let the linebackers do their jobs. But I think Penridge is most comfortable. I was at their North Penn game this past week where we could go scouting since we had a Monday night game. I think they're most comfortable running right at you. Again, they'll do the speed sweeps, they'll do the counters, but I think they're most comfortable. The quarterback is a big part of their running game, a huge part of their running game. He can also throw it, but they run a little bit of the veer stuff that Downingtown West did. So it's just going to come down to just linebackers kind of sitting in there, reading their keys and filling their gaps.
Okay, so you expect to see the power run game from them more than anything, but do you think they will spread it out at all and try to get it downfield on you?
They have a very good receiver. Their quarterback can throw the ball, but I think, like I said, I think they're most comfortable just running it right at you. I think that's really in the heart of what they want to do.
Now, as far as their defense is concerned, you mentioned earlier that you said it's going to be a tough week for the offensive line. What kind of defensive looks do they throw at their opponents?
We're back to the odd front again. So in an odd front, they run like a 3 lineman scheme, but it's really a 5 lineman scheme because they kind of bring their outside linebackers up. They play a couple different coverages. So Council Rock South with their coverages, they only ran 2. Penridge gets a little bit more creative with their coverages, kind of similar to what we do. Actually, very similar to what we do with our coverages. They'll play zone on one side and lock up, probably with, they'll lock up with either Denzel or Zach on the other side, depending. But they get creative with their coverages, and sometimes they have 1 linebacker in the middle, sometimes they have 2 linebackers in the middle, and sometimes they have 3 linebackers in the middle. And their line is big. They have a big giant nose guard. You'll see him on Saturday night. Their linebackers, they're kind of a husky team, and their D-backs run well. So it's a good defense. They have a good defense.
So you said it'll be a tough matchup for the offensive line. I know Hunter Kelly is probably the older statesman of this offensive line. Whose responsibility is it to make sure everyone's on the same page on that line?
I guess it comes down to a lot of A.J. Sanko. In a way, it's kind of compartmentalized a little bit as far as kids work in pairs. So in an odd front, a lot of times Billy Ritchie and Chris Wilson will work together, because they'll have one guy out here, and a lot of times Eddie Perry and A.J. Sanko, they'll kind of communicate what they have with the nose guard and the linebacker, and then Hunter will kind of make the calls for the backside. So it's kind of compartmentalized, but I guess the center is the guy who really is responsible for kind of making the calls and setting up the middle of the blocking.
I think it's such an interesting part of the game, the offensive line, because it's something that nobody pays attention to unless things are going wrong. Yeah. But last week you could see things really went right, so it'll be something I'll try to keep an eye on this week. Should be a good game against Penridge coming up. A home game for Neshaminy. You guys are undefeated on the road this season, now looking for your first home win. What would it mean to get a win in front of the home fans here?
It would mean a lot. It would mean a lot. The crowd that we had the first game was tremendous. It was a tough team. Again, our fans love coming to the games. We love our fans coming to the games, and we just want everyone to walk away happy, I guess.
All right, well, Neshaminy will be looking to walk away happy with a win if they can do so over Penridge. Again, the game will be on Saturday this week, a 6 p.m. kickoff. Tune in live at 5:45 for the Trentonian pregame show at WBCD1490.com. Good luck, Coach.
Thank you.